Out of the 8 billion people walking the earth right now, and the estimated 117 billion humans who have ever lived, there is no one exactly like you, not a single person. In today's explainer of the source material, we're decoding the mathematical and biological impossibility of replicating, well, you. We're going to explore the profound architecture of human individuality, drawing straight from the foundational science to understand exactly how this unimaginable level of variety is actually generated. So, why is every single human being completely unique? It sounds like a philosophical question, right? But it is deeply, beautifully biological. Just think about it for a second. You can walk through a totally crowded city street and instantly recognize the face of a friend in a sea of literally thousands of people. Our brains are hardwired to detect these minute differences, yet every single face, every mind, every physical makeup is a completely distinct, one-of-a-kind combination. How is that immense scale of variety even biologically possible? Well, to understand this, we have to start with something highly relatable. You know how this goes. You and your sibling grew up in the exact same house, raised by the exact same mother and father, and yet one of you might be tall with curly hair and the other might be shorter with straight hair. One of you might be the wildly outgoing life of the party, while the other is, highly analytical and quiet. This usually leads to those classic, highly competitive debates over the Thanksgiving table about who actually got the good genes. But seriously, how can two people who come from the exact same biological starting line end up so fundamentally different? To solve this puzzle, we have to zoom way, way in. Okay, let's dive into this. The answer to this sibling paradox is hiding inside a highly complex biological codebase known as DNA. Think of it as the ultimate instruction manual tucked away inside almost every single cell in your body. It is the master architect. And just to give you an idea of the sheer mind-boggling volume of data we're talking about here, if you were to extract and uncoil the DNA from all the cells in your body, it would stretch to the edge of the solar system and back, multiple times. Before you even take your very first breath, this microscopic codebase has laid out the vast architectural plans for exactly how you're going to be built. Now, if your DNA is the entire massive instruction manual, your genes are the specific chapters, paragraphs, and sentences within that book. They are the smaller, highly active segments of your DNA. But here's the thing. They aren't just passive information sitting on a shelf. These genetic sentences actually code for the specific proteins that go to work building your physical reality. You can think of them as the active controllers on the ground, taking the vast theoretical information of the manual and translating it into the actual, tangible characteristics you display to the world every day. These genetic sentences dictate some very real, everyday biological parameters. We're talking about whether your hair is straight or tightly coiled. They dictate your exact blood group. But it's rarely as simple as high school biology made it seem with those basic Punnett squares, right? Take eye color, for instance. It isn't just controlled by one single gene flipping a switch between blue or brown. It's a polygenic trait. This means it's the result of a highly complex interaction between multiple different genes all working together at once. When you look in the mirror, you are looking at the final physical expression of thousands of these tiny genetic controllers constantly interacting. So, the crucial point is, we do not get an exact copy from our parents. If we just received a direct carbon copy of our parents' codebase, human beings would basically be clones. And if that were the case, a single novel virus could easily wipe out the entire global population in one go. Instead, biology employs a brilliantly elegant mechanism of evolution. We don't get the whole instruction book from one place. This constant blending and varying of traits is an absolutely vital survival mechanism. It ensures immense genetic diversity, so the species can adapt and thrive over millennia. The basic math works like this. Exactly half of your genetic blueprint comes from your mother, and exactly half comes from your father. You are a 50-50 biological mashup of two entirely different lineages. But this doesn't just create a perfect down-the-middle average of two people. If your mom is tall and your dad is short, you don't automatically end up exactly in the middle. Because of dominant and recessive alleles, certain genetic traits will totally overpower others, while some might stay completely hidden in your code, quietly carrying over to the next generation without ever physically showing up in you. And this brings us to the actual sequence of creation. Before the sperm and the egg even combine, the DNA from your mom and the DNA from your dad act like two massive decks of cards being completely randomized. The genetic shuffling that happens here is truly mind-bending. The mathematical odds of the exact same shuffle happening twice, producing the exact same genetic combination independently, are so astronomically low that it is practically zero. Through this intense biological shuffling, a completely singular, unique combination is essentially born. Biologists call this cosmic shuffling recombination, and this brilliantly illustrates the definitive reason why you and your siblings are fundamentally different. Recombination is the exact moment the divergence happens. The genetic deck was shuffled one way for your older sister, yielding one specific set of traits, and completely differently for you. Even though you're both drawing from the exact same two biological decks of cards, the hand you were dealt is a literal once-in-the-universe configuration. But wait, let's pause for a second. Is biology the whole story here? For a very long time, the scientific consensus was leaning heavily toward yes. We used to think that DNA was destiny, that once your genetic code was set, your future physical and mental development was basically locked in a vault. But recent discoveries have proven that this internal blueprint is really only half the battle. The genetic code is magnificent, no doubt, but there is a massive, highly influential external factor at play that totally overrides destiny. Enter the environment. Things like your nutrition, your sleep cycles, your stress levels, and your daily experiences aren't just background noise. They are active biological triggers. This is the fascinating field of epigenetics. Your environment literally has the power to turn certain genetic switches on or off. For example, your genes might give you the baseline potential to reach a certain height, but your childhood nutrition decides if you actually reach it. Chronic stress can alter exactly how your genes express themselves, physically rewiring your brain's response to the world. The environment is basically the master sculptor, actively working with the clay of your genetics. Now, if you want the ultimate proof of epigenetics at work, just look at identical twins. They share almost the exact same DNA. Their genetic decks had the exact same shuffle. Yet, they often develop completely different personalities, varied health outcomes, and distinct preferences as they age. In fact, here's a wild biological detail. Identical twins actually have entirely different fingerprints. That's because fingerprints aren't just coded by DNA. They are actually formed by environmental factors in the womb, like the minute pressures of amniotic fluid. So even with an identical internal blueprint, different environmental interactions create entirely different human beings. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the grand formula that finally emerges from all this. It's your base DNA, plus that brilliant recombination we just talked about, plus tiny natural genetic mutations that happen along the way, all multiplied by your environment. And this isn't just a static piece of math on a chalkboard. It is a dynamic, lifelong process. It is a constant, unbroken interaction between your biology and the world around you, guaranteeing, both mathematically and biologically, that every single human is completely unique. Our source material actually sums this up perfectly, and this is the most beautiful part of biology. Because honestly, it's far from a cold, clinical equation. It's a wildly complex statistical miracle. Just think about the sheer volume of microscopic variables and macroscopic life experiences that had to perfectly align over millions of years of evolution, right down to the exact food you ate yesterday, to create the exact person you are at this very second. You are an irreplicable, singular event in the history of the universe. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to carry with you. How is your unique environment shaping your genetic blueprint today? You obviously can't rewrite your foundational genetic code, but your daily environment is constantly turning the dials on how that code expresses itself. The sleep you prioritize, the stress you manage, and the experiences you chase are actively directing your biology right now. You hold the pen to the rest of your biological story. So what are you going to write today?